So if my microphone is working, yes, okay. So good morning to everyone. Hope you can hear me well, even though the room is very small, so it's kind of a little bit counterintuitive that we need microphones. We gather here today for a very important subject that is also very close to my own, and it's solidifying the tech island and developing a competitive digital economy for Cyprus. So what I would like to do firstly is to start by introduction so that everyone introduces themselves, and then we will go into the actual questions and then the discussion. Please, feel free, in any order.
Hello, my name is Elena Prochaskova and I am Director of JETBRAINS in Cyprus.
And yeah, so like a 30-second snapshot of what you are and what you do.
Okay, so our company, I will then introduce JETBRAINS. We are a software development company. We have more than 20 years of experience in software development, technology development. Today we have more than 2,000 employees who are distributed across 12 locations. We are not just creating tools for software for developers, but also we stand behind programming language, which today is very popular, Kotlin.
Elena?
My name is Grigorian. MY.Games. MY.Games is one of the leading gaming companies in the world. We have about 1,500 employees distributed again through our 6 locations in Amsterdam as our headquarters, in Abu Dhabi, here in Cyprus, and some others. So we are pretty strong here, and we are growing fast enough to talk about this topic, because for me personally it's very interesting to grow our presence here and to do our best to help this topic.
I am Christophoros Anayiotos, an accountant by background. I lead the deal advisory services of KPMG in Cyprus. Deal advisory means we deal with mergers, acquisitions, valuations, feasibility studies, and one of the very interesting work that we have been doing recently is to assess the economic impact of certain sectors and sector companies in Cyprus, as we will be talking later.
Hello. Yes. So good morning. I'm Nicodemos Damianou. I'd like to say that I'm a technologist, but I'm also the Deputy Minister of Research, Innovation and Digital Policy. I've been in this position for 8 months now, I think. This is what we do day in, day out, the subject matter of this panel discussion. So very happy to be here with you all and part of this esteemed panel.
Good morning all. My name is Aristos Damianou. I'm a member of parliament. I chair the Interior Affairs Committee. This is a committee that handles most of the laws relating to this panel to some extent, especially laws on immigration, migration policies, incentives. So I'm here in this capacity, and with this opportunity I'd like to congratulate the Cyprus Forum for the initiative. Thank you.
And the final introduction is for myself. So my name is Ugne Buraciene. I'm the Group CEO of payabl. We are a fintech company leading payments not only in Cyprus but around in Europe and globally. And also I'm in capacity of a tech island board member as well. So this topic is definitely close to my heart as well. So to begin, just to set a little bit the scene, over the 4 past years, Cyprus has undergone significant transformation, emerging as a prime destination for international companies and top-tier talent. This exponential growth is a testament to the island's strategic initiatives and conducive environment that foster innovation and economic development. In this panel discussion today, our distinguished panelists will explore the ongoing multifaceted challenges and opportunities that we face going and leading towards the ultimate goal of becoming the real tech island. So if we can start by first question, we will have 2 rounds of questions, and we will start now with Deputy Minister Damianou. So many companies have chosen Cyprus as their base, contributing to thriving hub technology of innovation. Could you share the government's vision for this hub, and how do you see the future and we as a whole holding this competitive advantage?
Thank you for the question. Let me first say that I'm glad that we have this subject on this panel discussion, and the reason is that it sends a message that the community, at least those involved with the subject, are acknowledging the fact that we are moving forward. This is not a distant, unapproachable goal. It is becoming a reality. Cyprus becoming a tech hub, or towards becoming a tech hub. And now we should focus on how to leverage that, how to ensure that we maintain the momentum. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. Now, you were talking about a competitive digital economy, and we should say that this involves a number of key elements. So we're talking about a digital infrastructure, fast, robust, high-speed connectivity, shared resources, data centers that will support these digital initiatives, digital transactions, a digitally enabled skilled workforce that will drive these activities, these solutions forward, a digitally enabled business environment, our businesses adopting digital technologies, new emerging technologies, and an environment that is conducive to the startup ecosystem and to innovation. And of course, a legal and regulatory framework that will not only support and enable, but also safeguard this growth. Now, all of these elements collectively lead to an environment whereby businesses can thrive, can innovate, can compete, can grow, not only nationally, but also globally. Now, to your point, Cyprus becoming a technology hub in the sense that technology companies coming here, investing, moving their base here, and we have a growing community of important tech multinationals doing just that. We have representatives from a few of them on this panel today. Now, this fact is a driving force behind a number of these key elements that I mentioned before. And it's also contributing directly to a goal that we have, which is the diversification of the economic model. So the Cyprus's digital economy becoming a pivotal component of the overall economic structure. And this is actually happening. I'm sure we will be discussing it later on, but the ICT sector has been the sector with the highest growth over the past decade in Cyprus, and I think close to 10 or something % of the GDP. So that's important. Now, with regards to the vision, the ultimate goal, I think what we want is for Cyprus to become a regional base for what we call delivery of high-tech solutions and services, and also collaborative R&D. Cyprus, we are fortunate enough to be, let's call it Europe's eastern outpost, so sitting between 3 continents, providing access to a number of high-growth markets, and being a gateway, a natural gateway into Europe. And I can tell you that there is increasing interest from companies to explore just that. Now, also our small size as a market allows us to act as a sandbox for emerging and deep tech research, and also for bringing innovative products into the very demanding regulatory regime of the European market, being a pilot market for that. Based on that as well, we can be a data and connectivity hub, and that's hugely important. Cyprus, by the way, is well connected with submarine fiber optic cables. We have 12 of those. We are investing in that direction. That's important because data and connectivity are vital in the AI-driven economy of today. Okay, and talking about AI, that's a particular part of this vision. And the tech multinationals investing here are also, in that respect, contributing a lot. A lot of them are investing and bringing talent in this area of AI. They are investing in cutting-edge solutions on AI. So that's also important. Now, if you couple all that, and I'm sure this will be subject of further discussion, with a pro-business, pro-investment environment, all in all, we have a very good proposition as a country. And the goal should be to make sure that all of these efforts are channeled in such a way that they reflect directly to the economy. So we don't want to be a pass-through hub. We want to be a hub that attracts business here. Just a final word. I don't want to say too much. Of course, we need to focus our efforts across the dimensions I mentioned earlier as key elements of what it means to be a digital economy. But just to know that the latest ratings and official reports are showing a positive trajectory for Cyprus in terms of the DESI indices, as we call them, the Digital Economy and Society indices of the EU Commission. There is progress over the past couple of years, especially this year. We are still one of the leaders in connectivity. We are on track to achieve 100% population coverage for high-speed connectivity on both 5G and fiber optic connectivity by the end of 2025. We have shown the highest growth in terms of ICT professionals compared to the total workforce. That again is the tech island aspect is contributing directly to that, bringing talent. And the digital intensity of our businesses, we rank 7th in Europe on that, i.e. the level at which our businesses are absorbing, are adopting the technologies is getting better. Okay. In terms of the innovation, again, we rank amongst Europe's strong innovators, 10th in Europe in that respect. This shows great prospect for that area, and the research and innovation ecosystem is one aspect we need to focus on, invest on, because this could be the drive behind the startup ecosystem. Okay. And a number of other indices like the Startup Index and the Patent Index of Europe show that we are in the top 50 countries. For a small country like ours, to be in that elite group of countries is quite an achievement and shows that we can invest in that direction. And I think I will stop here.
And I hope that we will continue to solidify those positions. But since you touched some of the statistics, I think Christophoros has something to add here from KPMG side. And KPMG has conducted an in-depth study on growth and potential of Cyprus as tech sector. What key points and key data points can you share with us today? And what conclusions have you drawn from that study?
Thank you, Anna. Yes, indeed, we have completed a report on the economic impact of the tech island in Cyprus, and this report has been completed back in May 2024, although we keep updating it in order to have a live, let's say, tracker of the importance of this sector in the overall economy, which is continuously evolving. Our approach was to measure the GVA, the gross value added of the sector, into the overall economy. And effectively, when we talk about the Tech Island members, we didn't isolate it to the ICT community, but we also took some part of other sectors like the professional and technical services. And this measure that we took gives us a total contribution, direct contribution to the economy of 3.3 billion, which is around 12% of the gross value added of the country, which is 26 million. But if we also take the indirect effect, which is the, let's say, the spillover effect of a certain sector into other sectors of the economy, which we measure by the multiplier effect, we have another contribution of around 2.3 billion, so a total of 5.6 billion, which amounts to around 20% of the total economy. We even consider that this is a prudent estimate because, and this is what we are now working on in order to further evaluate and make more accurate our calculations, because there are certain companies in the fintech sector which are classified as financial services. We have not included their effect on in our analysis, and obviously there are very big companies on the island in this sector. But to go on and say some more statistics, very interesting observations about the performance of the sector, confirming also what the Deputy Minister said. ICT is internationally a very fast-growing sector. In the last 25 years, it has grown between the Europe 27 members at around 400%. And in this fast-growing environment, Cyprus has performed really well. It ranks fourth in the growth in the last 12 years, from 2011 to 2023. With a growth of almost 300%. As I said, we are fourth only behind Ireland, Malta, and Romania. Also very important is the share of the ICT sector into our overall economy, which is around 10%, taking only the ICT sector in isolation and not the other side effects, let's say. This compares very favorably with the rest of Europe, which has an average of around 5.4%. But Ireland is way ahead of us. It's at 19%, and obviously it is possibly something to look up to. And also very important statistic that we have indicated in our report as well is that in 2020, where the economy, due to COVID mainly, it slowed down with a rate of 3%. The ICT sector grew by 19%, so we can say that it saved the day for the Cyprus economy and kept the growth going in the future years. Some observations also in terms of the employment sector. The share of the employment force into the ICT in Cyprus ranks 12th among the EU 27, which shows that in terms of the importance of the sector, we are second in terms of the output, but in terms of employment, we are 12th, so it shows how productive our sector is. And indeed, we rank 5th in terms of gross value added per head, per employee working in the sector. We rank 4th in Europe, and fifth in Europe. And if we compare this with the cost of living of other countries, then it means that this is a very productive sector for us. And one final observation, which is again very important, is that based on the official statistics in the ICT sector, 60% of the employees are Cypriots, according to a general belief that it's most foreigners working in this sector.
I actually have to confirm also from our side, we are hiring locally. We are not, we're not relocating people. So in the case of payable, we have 60%, 55% actually are Cypriot also. So I think in as many companies that follow the same suit as per your statistics. Looking a little bit closer to the business side, for me the most interesting part to see how the companies who are actually contributing to the Cypriot economy looking at certain things, and maybe we can start with you, Elena. JETBRAINS is a prime example of a major international company heavily investing in Cyprus, and particularly in the education sector. Could you provide us with a brief overview of its programs and key objectives?
Yes, sure, gladly. First, I will introduce more JETBRAINS. Here in Cyprus, we have 270 employees. So this is not the biggest location, however, very important because here we have majority of our employees here represent R&D. Businesses around the world today face shortage of workers with technical background, and this is not the new issue. Problems of finding tech talent, they have been here for at least few decades. And despite recent layoffs in our industry, one might expect the change of the landscape, but it didn't happen. The demand for innovation, this is the reason, the demand for innovation continues to escalate, requiring more and more new skills and evolving skills. So when we noticed some time ago that level of skills of our new hires decreases, we reached out to universities and offered our help. Not all universities were willing to admit that the level of the knowledge they provide is not sufficient anymore. But those educational institutions who were willing to collaborate with them, we first introduced courses that were available for students in addition to their regular curriculum. Today at JETBRAINS we have ongoing educational projects that develop in several countries and in multiple locations. And our biggest investment here is our employees, because today we have the whole department of education and research, and we are talking about 150 people, even a little more. And those people are dedicated specifically to these projects, so they make it happen. So I will give you details of what specifically we do in the world and here in Cyprus. So we work with universities to create and enhance computer science programs. This way we help universities to educate and guide the next generation of developers, which our industry so desperately needs. Here in Cyprus, we collaborate with Neapolis University in Paphos. We created and successfully launched this year a bachelor program, Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence, so wanted today. And we have 95 students in this program, and 8 of these students who study in Paphos, they receive also our scholarships. So scholarships is what we provide to financial support talented students. On top of that, we also build global community around programming competitions. ICPC, for those who might not know, this is very prestigious international competition for programmers. We train students to participate in ICPC. We organize ICPC camps, and we also help students to get there, meaning we financial support, we organize trips, and we are there with them. So we help them to become part of this community. Also, we organize research schools and events. Apart from that, we also continuously create a lot of learning content in the form of lectures, which is available online for everyone, anywhere. So what's in these 4 universities as a big player? For them, this collaboration, it's sort of a bridge to the industry. They get insight of what is happening, what is needed today, and where they don't keep up with the pace. And universities, by collaboration with companies like JETBRAINS, and I know many other companies also collaborate with universities. For universities, it allows them to enhance their offer, educational offer, to make it attractive for students. And this way, they are able to prepare the new generation who will be competitive on the market.
As it was already mentioned on the panel, I think if you're talking about the overall experience of Cyprus moving to the tech island and being a hub of it, all of the layers have to be covered, and I think education is one of the paramount should be one of the paramount objectives as well for that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then I would like to also ask Elena, so another Elena on the panel from MY.Games, to tell a little bit about your perspective since you set up the shop in Cyprus as a company. What your experience has been so far? What do you see as challenges, and what do you see as opportunities for you and also for other companies similar to yourself?
Yeah, our story, I believe, pretty close to the story of many big IT companies. We have a rather big team, and taking into account that we have the remote mode of our work, it's not necessary for our employee to be in office, to be offline at any space, so it's not necessary for them to be concentrated at any hubs, so they live whenever they want, from Thailand to North America. But at the same time, we have 6 strict hubs, as we call it. It's not only the office spaces, it's a strict support from the company to our employee at these locations, and Cyprus is one of them, as I indicated. So my personal task somehow collect my people around our hubs, somehow motivate them to move from Thailand to Cyprus, for example, from North America to other hubs, for example, in Abu Dhabi we have hub, or Amsterdam, or some others. So it's not so easy because we have no strict rules, but we definitely need to have some additional motivation and show them the options and benefits to live here. That's why it's my day-to-day operational life explaining the benefits to live here in Cyprus and to use my personal experience as a sample, because I truly believe that we have a lot of benefits living here. And one of them definitely is the simplification of naturalization process that over the recent years became much easier and much more convenient. And I'm sure that this work was done really great, and it helps a lot leading our employees moving here, having secure position in terms of the legalization. So thanks very much for that help. Another point that I usually use is the income tax benefits that we have here, reduction for income tax for foreigners. It's so important as well, and it's significantly better than in other European countries, for example. Compare with other headquarters in Netherlands, it's much more convenient here. And of course, having different options, many of our employees choose Cyprus mainly due to that fact, because of course they think about strategic behind this decision. At the same time, maybe it looks like not so important like work permit for spouses, but in the real life it makes real sense, because we're talking about not only our existing talents, but about their families, because of course they live here together with their wives and husbands and with their kids, and all of them are a significant part of their decision as well. So working permit for spouses is a significant aspect that make a real sense while they're choosing to country to live. So this is a kind of my day-to-day life. And of course, a lot of things has been done over the recent years, making Cyprus an attractive destination for these people. And it's much easier for me now to persuade and motivate them to move than it was 2-3 years ago. Then I started to do that. But of course, there are a lot of things that are necessary to be done. And I could, split these items into two groups. One of them for the company, and for the company is another one for the employee that is at the end of the day, of course, connected with the company, but at the current moment, it's much more connected with the exact people. In terms of the companies, I'm sure that it has been discussing a lot in different audience, but if I talk having a kind of, umbrella vision, I believe that to make the significant multiple flip in terms of the growth of the IT professionals here, it's necessary somehow to involve on the island the tech giants like Google, like Apple, like Meta, and some other companies. And there are some examples in the world, and Ireland, we indicated them already, and Netherlands, another one, the countries who succeeded to do the same in a shorter time. And we all know what was the reason behind that. It's a grace period for any IT companies on the island or on the country as well. And for example, numerous of agreements to avoidance of the double taxation between different countries. It's so important for companies as well to take, to integrate the legal entity on the territory. I indicated, for example, IP box regime. So IP box is a great benefit for us, for example. But in any case, there are some aspects that's slightly outdated at the moment. It's necessary to be corrected, because just a small example for us. We have two parts of our revenue, and one of them is advertising revenue. And as you may know, advertising revenue is not a part of the IP box mode. And it was obvious 10 years ago that it was different meaning of the advertising, because at the moment, advertising is 100% algorithmic revenue connected with your IP. It's pretty the same in terms of the algorithms as our in-app revenue. So it should be considered like IP box revenue, but at the moment it's not there. We are trying to negotiate it again and again, but we're still there. It's just a small examples. And talking about the employees, I think that, again, the topic is already discussed a lot in many audiences, like visas, blue cards and visas and so on. And I would like to talk today not only about the visas for touristic purpose for our employees, because I know that it can be considered like nice to have option. But for business, but for top managers, visas questions and the transparency of the borders is a crucial topic to live and to take into consideration when you are choosing the options. Because for me, for example, it's a personal example, it's a huge deal to have the transparent borders to make my business. Because in reality, IT business is global. It's necessary to travel a lot. It's necessary to communicate face-to-face with your partners. And the issue at the moment that I have no strict vision what is going to be next week with me, because I can get called today to be tomorrow somewhere in Europe, for example. I have a meeting in Barcelona tomorrow. For example, yesterday I was in London. Tomorrow I'm going to Abu Dhabi, and next week I need to go to Barcelona. And I have no time to prepare and submit my docs to different embassies and to wait for some months to get the visa for 10 days, something like that. Because I don't know for sure what exactly days I should be there, because I don't know my schedule for tomorrow, even for next week. So for business purpose, it doesn't work, having the current structure. That's why, and top managers really is the first one who should be relocated, because their teams usually gather it around them. That's why top managers, it's so important to be the first part of it. And we have a lot of different aspects, of course, but I believe that is one of the most important for us.
I share some of your experiences as well, even though that we, let's say as I mentioned, we don't, relocate, so much to Cyprus, but what we do, we also have hubs all around Europe, mainly. And when we want to attract certain people to Cyprus, we do experience issues. Even though that, you mentioned that, it's easier to advertise Cyprus as a great destination for relocation, but we're running into some real problems. We're running into the cost of living, for example, right? If we talk about rentals in Limassol, our offices are in Limassol, all of it. So our 100+ employees are sitting, there. So even though that there are many benefits, that supposedly should outweigh, and there is a better tax regime also for those who are coming in Cyprus as well, to work. But we face the problems of actual living infrastructure, and mostly that is usually the deterrent in our case. So people would not relocate because it's very expensive to live, and also there's a schooling problem. So basically, if you say someone, again, if you talk about top management and you say they're coming with 2, 3 kids, and you're going to say, okay, you're going to have to wait for school for an international school for 2-3 years to even be able to maybe access. So these are, I think, forms quite a multifaceted, issues that we have around all of these things. And as I said, I share some of them, and I completely understand, from your perspective that that's very challenging. And the borderless business that we are doing in general, operating everywhere, servicing everywhere, being able, to travel everywhere is part of just normal operational mode. It shouldn't be something that should be hard, and I think this is definitely one of the things that should be looked at very carefully. But moving on slightly a little bit to Aristos. So as we mentioned, with the rapid influx of international companies and talent, what challenges does Cyprus face, apart from those already that we discussed, integrating foreign workers into the local ecosystem, and how can government policy support a smoother integration process? I think there was some already suggestions there, but we would love to hear from you as well.
Well, firstly, I'd like to endorse the comments made earlier on, and I'm glad that we appear to be on the same line, on the same page, to say the least, because while I was preparing a few talking points for this discussion, and I'll try to be short because I think it should be an interactive sort of process. The main question that was sort of posed before me is whether, since on a number of occasions we congratulate this industry for its successes, the contribution to the GDP, the innovation hub in the process, the question remains whether this state, this polity, do we do enough to facilitate the growth of the industry? And the short answer is that we are doing quite a few things, but as I will indicate later on, we're not doing enough. So to comment on your question, it is my firm belief that on a number of occasions we have underlined the need for the implementation of policies that will facilitate the operation and growth of technology and communication companies in Cyprus in order to create the vision of a hub, as we tend to say. But admittedly, whereas we have done quite a bit in the last few years, even up to this date, a lot more remains to be done. And we as parliamentarians, with the footnote that we have a full separation of powers and the executive makes the executive decisions and we vote on laws, but we do not implement laws. The caveat here is that it is of paramount importance for the laws that Parliament enacts to be implemented, to be put in action, to be put in real life. And this is where the bureaucracy of the state, it is not a government issue, it's a structural matter. The bureaucracy of the state does not facilitate to the extent that it should have done the implementation of the laws. This is why we have delays, the red tape, and all the problems that come with it, and some of these have been mentioned already. So the first element is cutting down on the red tape, on bureaucracy. Now, later on we will come to the so-called Blue Card Directive and the laws that we have enacted last July, but at this point I believe that it is important to stress that if it is for Cyprus to remain a technology and innovation hub and to give an impetus to this momentum that is there, indeed it is there, we need to look deeper as to what remains to be done. And I have put down 3 elements. I will run through them quickly. First, we need a more collective effort to create a culture of integration on a societal level, of multiculturalism in society, of tolerance to say the least, because we are a society in the process of evolving, but we need tons of more tolerance towards people from other countries, especially from countries that do not appear to be closer to us. So the first element is one about society and culture, how to work on that, to create an evolving plural society. The second element is the drafting of horizontal policies. Some examples have been mentioned on tax incentives, on housing policies, education, on schooling. I mean, it is outrageous to put professionals, entrepreneurs in the position of having to run around to create schools for their own children in Limassol, for example, because the state or the economy itself does not create the infrastructure for such opportunities. So we need to work on that, on schooling in particular, because this is important. If we're talking about family reunification, this is the number one element. And of course, the outrageous prices of rental in Limassol, not only for office space, but accommodation as well. On these elements, we need to work on horizontal policies which do not necessarily have to do with the legislation, but it may come to the point that we need to legislate, taking into consideration the limitations that we have with competition laws. We may need to legislate, create a ceiling on pricing when it comes to rent. Other countries have done so. Countries within the European Union, after all, we do have laws on fixing prices on rental, but on certain categories. I'm now talking about professional office space. We can discuss the possibility of introducing laws on that. And the third element, which is probably the most important on a more practical level, is the provision of facilities, services, infrastructure I have mentioned already, which is long overdue. It is no secret that office space is scarce, primarily in Limassol, but also in Nicosia. The example of Ireland has been mentioned always. Why? Because there is office space everywhere, and cheap office space, and the reurbanization policies in various cities that provide the opportunity to create office spaces and create the hub that we're looking into. At the same time, we have to facilitate the process by which companies are becoming creative to find spaces. The idea of changing the town planning regulations to enable this creation of spaces. And of course, it is no secret that I have mentioned already the issue of schooling, but at the same time, there are other incentives that need to be given to families of employees to take the big decision to relocate to Cyprus. Not only to relocate for a short while, but to have a second homeland as a lot of people that we've been discussing with feel that Cyprus to them is a second homeland, and this is very important for the process of integration. My final point is this. We need to be prepared to have some sort of a standing process of reviewing policies and laws on a practical level, maybe a task force that will engage the industry, Tech Island, the Deputy Ministry, even Parliament, in order to be able to have some sort of a fast-track procedure to adopt to the needs of the economy and of the industry as well. This is something that we need to work on. Maybe a task force will be one of those solutions. And as I will be coming later on to the Blue Card Directive, I will just pause here.
And from Tech Island perspective, I think it's very clear that the Tech Island has gathered the top companies and the top key players in the island, and we are advocating for all of those companies and including the companies that are there on the board as well. And it is paramount to define those subjects that that are important to companies and work through them, but I honestly believe that there are real technical things that can be done, right? So talking about it very vaguely doesn't help anyone. There are certain points that should be done, and I'm more than happy to say that I think we're doing that work and we're trying to be more engaging and focusing on real actual problems that can be resolved, and sometimes those are very small ones that impact something that is very big. So as from all of the experience that that we have from the companies that we collaborate, we hear that and we can really be the voice for the tech sector. So thank you for sharing also the same thoughts, and I think that we're all leading to the same direction. And I believe, Christophoros, you have some other points, maybe even though that I think you covered your points are almost all covered from what you identify, let's say, as challenges and things that need to be fixed. And since you've done the study, what are your opinion, let's say, from the areas that were discussed, what needs to be fixed and what can be added to the list?
Well, indeed, I mean, from our work, we have made various observations regarding the needs, but also through our dealings with stakeholders, with our clients. I'm afraid I will be reiterating some of the things that have been said. If I were to put them in three, let's say, sectors, one of them is schooling, and this continuously comes up as one of the major issues that we need to address. Second one being infrastructure in a more general sense, while this is public transport, connectivity of Cyprus, but also affordable housing. And the third is our workforce, which we are proud of our professional skills and the level of tertiary education that we have. But unfortunately, we may not have the necessary skills for this kind of sector. We need to engage in reskilling and upskilling, and I'm really excited to see a young audience today to get them motivated with this sector and what we are talking about. And I think this is what we should be doing. We should be bringing the education sector closer to the industry to be able to facilitate this, let's say, transition into more digital and practical skills. I should also say that during and in collaboration during our work, we've worked with IMR of the University of Nicosia, who have done a questionnaire-based survey with Tech Island members and their employees regarding the reasons of being here in Cyprus, but also the challenges they are facing. Again, these issues keep coming up. Obviously, the reasons for being here is on the one hand, the strategic location of Cyprus, but also the lifestyle, which people tend to value a lot, especially if they come from other places of the world that they don't have this quality of life, the climate. But they have also highlighted the tax regime, the IP box, and also the naturalization framework as strong points of Cyprus, although they still need some modernization, as well as the spouse access to employment, which is also considered to be one of the stronger points. Now, as regards to the challenges and the points that they say they need improvement is the blue card, the public transport, modernization of tax benefits, and also, in terms of the individuals, they mentioned environmental policies, so this is probably another area which, as a country, we need to address. Last, I will also mention the Vision 2035, which is the the Cyprus plan for turning Cyprus into a model state. It's a very big plan that has been drawn up in 2022. It is made up of 242 initiatives, but it places the headquartering and the relocation of companies as the top of the list in terms of driving the growth on the island. And I mean, even this long-term strategy places huge importance on this sector. Still, the plan identifies some areas which we need to work on, is digital skills and STEM training, the labor productivity, which we say we have, again, a good labor force, but in terms of productivity ratios, we lag behind the European peers. Simplification of the processes, effectiveness of the court systems, and a more efficient legal system. And last but not least is digitalization and innovation, which I think Nicodemos has also explained that there are a lot of things being done. As I said, this plan has 242 initiatives. In order to get the most important done, we have to remove the red tape, for sure, and get the public service promote and move things further.
Thank you. And I think from the digitalization perspective, I think the sooner we cover some of the issues that, let's say, that other European countries do not have, is just simple servicing of employees, simple e-gates, electronic signatures, and things that really would make life, much easier. I think we were really looking at a good path. But coming to Elena, MY.Games, just maybe since we are focusing on challenges, maybe you can focus on few most pressing, let's say, issues that you think that international companies would benefit from. I know you mentioned some already from your discussions, but if you say, okay, tomorrow, if something can be really elevated for all of the companies that are operating in Cyprus, what would you think those would be, the most pressing subjects?
Yeah, I think that we indicated the most part of them. Of course, talking about the companies, it's thinking about the IP box adaptation based on the current nowadays practices, it would be great as well. Any kind of grace period, not for us, because for us it's pretty okay to work at the current condition, but I truly believe that the huge IT giant can involve the second wave of IT companies moving here. Talking about our employees, again, I indicated visas, it would be significantly important. That's why, for example, our headquarters in Amsterdam has slightly more benefits in this area for them. That's why I'm trying to persuade them to choose Cyprus based on other benefits, because this one is not number one.
But it's also, you have to look at it from company's perspective, because we have an office in Netherlands, and having an office in Netherlands is an expensive
really
option in comparison to Cyprus. So, from the company's perspective, we have all of the means, to do it here, but there needs to be.
This is the main idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I truly believe that is the main idea, because it's really expensive to have office there. That's why I'm trying to persuade my employee to move in here, but then they need some, additional advantages of the island here. We indicated schooling, which is so important topic, because we should think not only about our employee, but about their families as well. So I indicated spouses and schooling as well. It's a really hot topic for everyone. Yeah, because I know a lot of my employees, my colleagues, who have to choose the schools in other countries while living here. And that's, for example, my personal experience as well, because my 10-year daughter have no any options to study here. And 10 years, it's too young. But in any case, we decided to move to UK boarding, because we have no options here on island, and it's a nightmare for me to be apart as for mom, and it's rather difficult for her to be alone. But in any case, there is no any options here. And taking into account that my professional lives are so strong connected with island, and I truly believe that the rest of my life will be connected with the island. That's why I can't move somewhere else, but she has to do that. And so schooling is a big deal. And while we are proposing the offer to our employees for moving here, we show them the options in terms of the schooling as well. And sometimes it's not the best case. So office spaces, again, is the same story. We have our office here in Limassol, which is nice. But in any case, we are trying to increase it, every year, because the number of our employees here is growing, and we need more and more spaces every year. And it's not so easy to find the new one usually. So
I can say many things with regards to that, because we are also in Limassol, and the office space is a very hot topic, and I see that many companies like ourselves and you as well are struggling to expand, because the cost of the offices is actually higher than what I pay in London or what I pay in Netherlands in some cases, and we are still in Cyprus, so I think there is still a long way to go there. But just coming back a little bit to the topic that is very let's say interesting for me is the digitalization, and I think Deputy Minister Damianou has something to add, and just to give us a brief description of where we're heading at, and what is there to expect from those initiatives.
Where do I start? But before I want to just comment that there are some great points and some great takeaways from this, and hearing from people who are really invested in growing their businesses here is hugely important. I think I very much like the idea of a task force or a fast track of Aristos, the Aristos suggestion, of a fast track approach in any case to solve problems. I think that's much needed. Some of them are structural, some of them, as you rightly said, so are not and should be easier to solve. Now, digitization, an observation first. If we don't invest ourselves in digitizing the economy, digitizing the public sector, I think at some point no one is going to take us seriously. So we need to do that. It's a long-standing issue. I realize that we all do, but we also need to acknowledge where we're standing, what are the challenges, and know what do we need to do. And the truth, the hard truth is that we are sitting on legacy technology. I don't want to get too technical here, but we have a core governmental engine that is aging. We're not the only country to face that. Of course, these are siloed systems historically created through the fact that governmental departments, ministries were deciding on their needs, choosing systems without a unified architecture to build on. So that's task number one. And that's a long-standing project that we have just initiated, the enterprise architecture of the government. We need to create a new blueprint, the new governmental cloud environment. That's already started, but it's a slow process. On top of that, we realize that we need to start delivering services for the citizens, for the professionals, for the companies. So we have defined what we called the Digital Citizen Program. There are 4 components under that. One is the new central government portal, GovCY. It's actually live. The first version is actually live. This is where you will find digital services consolidated, properly categorized and searchable. This is the first fully public cloud solution of the government. That's the truth, and it's a start. And as part of that, we are also changing the web presence of the government as well, based on open source solutions, solutions that will allow us to have a unified brand identity, and that's also important. The second component is what we call the Digital AI Assistant. It's a Gen AI tool that will be incrementally able to answer questions that citizens have. So having an assistant that can answer questions 24 hours instead of 7 hours a day is on its own very important. This will be built incrementally, and all of these initiatives will be built in small steps and incrementally. Okay. The third component is the Digital Citizen app, a sort of ID wallet application where you will be able to store your official documents in digital form. Okay, we are doing that in collaboration with the Ministry of Digital Transformation of the Greek government. And the final component is what you mentioned, the EID, the Cyprus EID, the electronic signatures. We should be able to announce it soon and subsidize that tool for the citizens or in the country. That would be an important tool and a market development tool as well. Okay, so talking about market development, this is another area where we need to focus on. As a market, we are a small market, but we fail to have truly cross-country backbone services. I was in India about a month ago. It's a 1.4 billion people country, and they have cross-country infrastructure, for example, for payments. That's why they're doing great with payments. They have UPI, so one of the case studies in the payments world. We failed to do that. One example is the EID. Another example is the what we call Smart Cyprus initiative, a platform-based approach that is aiming to consolidate in a holistic manner all of the smart city initiatives around the island. Okay, it will start with 3 vertical solutions: smart parking, smart waste management, smart lighting, 120,000 smart sensors, but it will incrementally be expanded to other areas. Closing, I should say that Cyprus is allocating about 28 to 29% of its recovery and resilience fund to digital initiatives, including digitization of businesses, and that's significantly more than the 20% average of the European Union. So as part of that program, there are a number of what I call large-scale vertical systems, solutions that are in the process of being implemented. A very challenging task, but one that should take us to the next level in terms of digital services in approximately, I would say, 24 months from now. Okay, we're talking about solutions for systems like the new transport management system, the new school management system, the new social insurance system, the tax for all, the new tax system, the new customs import system, the new GIS and town planning system, so a number of them. And it is a challenging task, but if we manage to deliver them on time and based on their scope, this should be an important improvement.
I would say that the idea, in my view, is kind of the binding part, right? Because if you don't have a way to identify your people electronically, you cannot implement absolutely anything at all. So I think it's a good thing that, I know that it's sort of partially also implemented, but I think once that is available, I think it will relieve a lot of the pressure as well. So just since we touched the subject already a little bit about the blue card, and I think it's kind of clearly a topic that is very interesting for the panel and also for Cyprus as a tech hub. Could you give us an update a little bit of where we stand with the blue card and what is going to happen there?
Yes, certainly. If I can just make a brief comment on what has been said earlier on, because as politicians, and I define myself as one, we always need to warn ourselves as to the chasm between theory and praxis. And I will come to that when it comes to the blue card. And let me give you a very brief personal example. I'm a lawyer by profession. 1998, I was working as an in-house lawyer in London. Now, for a couple of years, I would be filing applications in court at the court registrar via email, receiving answers, appearing in court, and then you know that you turn up in court at 9 in the morning and your case will be heard. When I finished this couple of years as an in-house, I realized in 98 that the court registry, I was based in London, was in Cardiff, Wales. Now, Cyprus 2024, I need to take Elena to the court to file an affidavit, stamp it, right? And then you have these sort of Charles Dickens kind of images, huge books, writing by pen, and God forbid if that book is lost, then you lose your case. Now, we have a lot of policies in the pipeline. Only yesterday, it is not a criticism for this deputy because he inherited the problem. Only yesterday, the e-justice notorious policy has collapsed. What am I saying here? I'm saying that we need to be aware whenever we are trying to implement policies to make sure that our agreements, the ingredients of the agreements that the state is making are bulletproof, and it's possible to apply them, especially when it comes to technology matters. I'm not an expert, but clearly that when you have the whole system of electronic justice collapsing, it means something went terribly wrong when the criteria for the agreement were set. This is why I'm saying it's not this deputy's responsibility. Now, coming to your question, I'm glad to say that when it comes to the Blue Card Directive, we have managed to deliver. We had the Tech Island discussion just before the elections of June, and we have promised that before the recess of the interval of Parliament in July, we would have the law voted for, and we did. Mid-July, and now we are into October. So the law sets certain prerequisites, and the law is very clear. I am hearing that for reasons that I cannot explain, there are delays in the examination of applications, in the approvals, issues concerning status of employment, families. I understand that to some extent, this problem stems from the fact that only a few months ago, a new deputy ministry for immigration was set up. So there are issues of competences between the ministry and the deputy ministry and the Department of Immigration and Aliens still exist. But the truth of the matter is that this is a good example whereby the state, the parliament, with the collaboration of the government, voted for the law. The Blue Directive law is there 3 months now, but there are still problems in the application. Now, I don't think it's necessary to go into the details of the law because I know that you're fully aware of where we stand. But if I was to stress a point, is that we really need to do more when it comes to implementing laws that Parliament has enacted. And this is a very good example. We really ran the marathon in 100 meters to have the law passed, and we're still here discussing of problems employees and their families are still facing.
I think it's kind of a common problem also even for businesses if you think about it, right? Because you make a strategic decision to do something and then the part comes on execution and implementation of it. So I don't think the government is any different from that. It should just be more maybe adaptive and more efficient in identifying what are those obstacles, because as businesses we usually are quite good at understanding where the delays are and why we're doing certain things. So I think if there's more transparency there and the implementation is getting to the point that it can really benefit, then I think we will be on a good path. So very interesting panel, really. I think we touched many subjects, but I think I still want to come back a little bit to the educational part, and it's the last question from my side, at least for the panel, and I would like to give it to Elena from JETBRAINS. How do you envision Cyprus preparing for the next generation of tech professionals to compete on a global scale? What role should both private and public sectors play in these efforts? And what steps should be taken to build a strong local talent pool, which I think is relevant to the discussion and is something that we really have to look for long-term goals.
To cultivate the next generation of tech professionals, we need to continue working on creating the ecosystem, the right ecosystem for that, and community. Without that, no tech talent. All their children will graduate from school and leave Cyprus and do business, and they will stay there. That is a problem. And then no community, because new generation is somewhere else, but not in Cyprus. So their ecosystem comprises of businesses, of investors, of research and educational institutions. And these institutions, academic institutions, have a crucial role. Without that, there is no community. There is no ecosystem. And if your business is not just using existing technologies, but also creating them, you're dependent on high school education. You need fundamental knowledge and solid theoretical preparation. Silicon Valley, with the presence of such renowned institutions as Berkeley, as Stanford universities, is a prime example. When education and business cooperate and operate effectively, they create ideal environment for nurturing tech talent. They create this soil for nurturing tech talent. So once the conditions are right, it won't be long before talented young people, smart people, will compete for being part of it. And this way you can attract not only talents from local community, but also talents from abroad. You have to ensure a good proportion and mixture of them. So given the significant power on the side of public sector, I would say that its role is pivotal. Without support and commitment from public sector, we can do this. With support and commitment, we can do that, and we can do it faster. The public sector should look holistically and with a broad picture at all the initiatives that companies are doing, because eventually there are long-term benefits for countries and even regions under their supervision. And we need public sector to proactively support our endeavors and development of tech ecosystem and fostering these collaborations through various incentives. Now, speaking about incentives, I would like to advocate a little for universities. As I mentioned, they are crucial for vibrant tech community. Universities today still face some legacy issues. They need a streamlined process for bringing in educators from abroad, because any university does that, even those the most prestigious. There should be rotation. You should take people from abroad, you should take local educators, and they need to collaborate synergistically. So today, for university to bring in some professor or high school teacher, first of all to find them, then what they can offer. No tax incentives, right? And around 9 months of the whole process. It's too long. It's too long. What appeal would be there for a teacher, for someone with a name, with degrees? We need to make sure that Cyprus is an appealing destination for them. This way we support universities. So I strongly advocate for government to look at universities the same way as it looks at tech companies. We need the same incentives for them as well. Tax incentives and streamlined immigration process. It should be as fast as it is possible, given their framework, right? So building tech ecosystem, building community is a continuous process. It's not just you build it and you leave it, no. And we hope that public sector will be proactive and agile in adopting the legislation and building a legislative framework that will address the bottlenecks and obstacles. As for the steps to be taken, I would argue that the most urgent action is elimination of barriers that we face today. And there are several limitations companies in Cyprus encounter. Maybe you know that ICT companies use and they have internship programs, all of them, because this is very valuable instrument for both. For students, it provides career opportunities, career exploration. It provides networking opportunities. It provides skill development, practical experience, you name it. And in Cyprus, students are allowed to work part-time only in a number of sectors. And there is manufacture, as far as I remember, there is agriculture, hospitality, but not ICT. So this seems like a legacy issue, and I believe there were strong reasons to introduce this approach many years ago, but today the circumstances changed. And if you all agree that we are building community and this is the direction that we want to take, we need to eliminate those barriers that are posed by outdated legislation. We need to address it quickly. So what happens if we fail to address this specific issue? If students are not able to find appropriate internship program here in Cyprus, they will go abroad. And now what we have, we invest, as a companies, we invest in their skill development here in Cyprus. We hope that they will be in the pool of talents where we will be searching for next generation. Universities will also invest because some students stay with universities, right, and take over and become generation of educators. And then, just because of this small thing, students go abroad, and the likelihood of them returning back is quite low. In JETBRAINS this year, I'll give you an example. We hosted around 100 interns, and we typically hire 30-40% of them. every year. Some years we have more. And these interns this year, they worked across our European location, but they cannot work in Cyprus. So this poses a big barrier now, and I think it's not very difficult to address it and just to extend this number of industries where students can work. So where I'm leading, we need to think not only about nurturing tech talent, creating an environment for fostering future generation, but we also need to think about retention, right? Because they will be continuing, they will be taking over and building this community further and further. So, and coming back to the private sector, I think companies like JETBRAINS can and should build bridges between industry and universities, between education system. And by actively engaging in these activities in education and skill development, companies not just not just fulfill their corporate responsibility and social responsibility, but they also contribute significantly towards sustainability of the tech sector and competitiveness of the tech sector. And if I may, I would like to support Elena on many issues. All of us, we have the same troubles. Office spaces. Now imagine office spaces in Paphos. You have to build. You have to become a developer. Yeah. Now, visas. I have here 270 people. If not the visa issue, if we had some solution, today we would have in JETBRAINS around 500 people. Because people, they are young. And even schooling, I would say, not for all is an issue because not all have children. But travel, today, we need streamlined process for business visas. And we advocate actually for creating a single point, for creating a visa processing center for businesses and for individuals. We are ready to pay for this service, but we need to be sure that if there is a call and I have to be in London or one of my speakers has to go to the conference tomorrow, I need to be sure that there is fast-track procedure for me as a business. I'm ready to pay, but I want them to be there.
Just to sum it all up, because we are out of time, I think we identified quite large problems, or let's say opportunities as they would be, but there are obstacles that could be grouped in some really large pillars, and I think they sound very overwhelming if you think about it, right? But I think Elena's point here is that if the government also listens to exactly the things and the things that are really tripping over in certain areas where can be changed pretty simply just by focusing on making those changes, I think it should be kind of a plan of action in long term and in short term objectives, just to make sure that we don't stall the growth and the path of becoming this digital hub for companies. And I'm very happy to know and also be part of Tech Island that, we have those open conversations. We have identified also those, key points, and we will continue also to do so. But really, thank you so much for sharing all of the experiences. I think it was really interesting, at least, from my side, and I hope the audience also learned a few things. And it's not all doom and gloom. There is a good projection of the things, that we do, but we just need to keep at it, and we need to keep focusing on big and small objectives as we come along. So thank you so much for that, and really a great panel discussion today. Thank you.